Hi, I'm Kelley from Connecticut, and I'm an overall shy, introverted person. I don't like to talk to people unless I'm already comfortable with them. My parents like to call this slow to warm. I've always been this way. In fact, I didn't even talk to my family members other than my mom and dad for a very long time. Ordering my own meal at a restaurant didn't happen until I was like 12. Anyways, as you can imagine, a place like CSG was difficult for a person like me. Being shoved into a room with 14 other girls who I had never seen before in my life, and having everyone expect me to be best friends with them sounds like my nightmare. Why would I ever agree to this? But by some miracle, and a little pushing from my parents, who wanted me to get out of my comfort zone, I agreed to spend 4 months of my life in the little yellow farmhouse. On the first day of CSG, my family and I walked up the secret staircase with all my bags in hand, and one of the RAs showed me to my bed. I was assigned a single bed in the big bunk room. Sounds pretty sweet, right? Well, that's what I thought at first too. However, other people were obviously more comfortable with the whole everyone living in the same room situation than I was. And the fact that you didn't have to climb or duck to get on my bed made it very easy for some of these strangers to come and sit on it. Now, as my parents have always told me that it's okay to be shy as long as it doesn't stand in the way of getting what I want. I really never took that to heart until now. I really did not want people sitting on my bed at that point. However, I was too shy to ask people to get up, so I just let them do it and let it brush off my shoulders like normal. Now, I really could care less if anyone sits on my bed, because I know them all. But back then, there were strangers sitting where I was asleep, and I was not comfortable with that at all. Even though I didn't say anything about my bed, there were definitely other opportunities at CSG for me to speak up and become more comfortable with the group. One of these opportunities was being the leader of the people, or LOP, as we like to call it. The LOP has the responsibility of waking everyone up in the morning, leading the group to solo, making sure everyone is on time for meals, and announcing seconds after meals. They also wear the science pants. A new person is chosen each day, and we have all been LOP at least 6 times this semester. By the end of the semester, the job of LOP is pretty easy, and no one really thinks much of it. However, the first time I had to call everyone's attention to announce seconds as everyone was chowing down on Gail's delicious food was terrifying. I was just standing up at the front of the dining room, trying to pick a good time to interrupt the conversation. I spoke quietly at first, and no one really heard me, but then I spoke a little louder and people finally listened. This was one of the first times that I actually spoke up for what needed to get done. I have no idea why I was so nervous to get everyone's attention. After I started getting more comfortable with my new lifestyle, I started showing myself to the rest of the group. One Friday night activity was a fashion show where we all dressed up as a representation of where we came from. A few people came from the same state, so they got to model together. However, I was the only one from Connecticut, so I had to model by myself. Now, Connecticut is not the most interesting or easy state to model. It doesn't have any distinct characteristics like New York or Texas. Plus, I was by myself, so I was really nervous. After I thought about it, though, I realized that Connecticut was full of Starbucks drinking, Lululemon wearing girls who take a lot of selfies. So that's what I decided to do. I pulled on my Lululemon leggings, grabbed my selfie stick, and strutted across the yurt. It turned out to be really fun, and I'm glad that I went all out. I never would have thought that I could have gotten up in front of all these people I didn't really know, but now it's not that big of a deal. Another activity we did as a group that pushed me out of my comfort zone was karaoke. I'm not a good singer whatsoever, but I have a secret rapping ability. Last summer, my friend Emma and I memorized all of Fancy by Iggy Azalea, and I still know it by heart. So Abby agreed to do the singing part, and I got up and rapped fancy to the group. Ever since then, I have become somewhat famous for my rapping skills in the farmhouse. I have been given the name KP Hippen, and I am constantly asked to rap for group occasions, such as when we met Carrie and Laura at the Cobb Scoop campsite during Coastal Expedition. Very few of my friends back home even know that I can rap fancy. I would never think of doing it. However, while being here, I have discovered this confidence that allows me to be myself and be happier because of it. After I started showing my true self to all these new people around me and becoming happier because of it, a lesson we learned in leadership class made it all click. We watched a TED Talk by our friend Brene Brown that told us we needed to be vulnerable in order to make connections, and that is how we become happier people. I realized why I was becoming so comfortable here. I was being more vulnerable and connecting with everyone better. Before, I thought being myself would be embarrassing and drive people away. Now I realize how foolish that really was. Connection is the first step in getting people to listen to what you have to say, and that makes it much easier to stand up for myself. If I had known this in the beginning of the semester, it would have been easier to tell people not to sit on my bed. Being at CSG, I have not only noticed how important it is for me to advocate for myself, but for others to do so as well. Many people don't think that they have the power to stand up for themselves, and they can just let others do it for them. However, what they don't realize is that if you don't stand up for yourself, no one else will do it for you. In my situation, with everyone sitting on my bed, I didn't tell them that I didn't like it, so they didn't know. It's not like someone was just going to come up and be like, hey, don't sit on her bed. It doesn't work that way in the real world. Hiding in the shadows doesn't work either. Everyone has their own belief of how the world works and how others should act. And the chances are other people share the same belief. However, you won't know unless you say so. Like last week, I shared that I thought High School Musical was one of the best movies ever, and I still listen to the songs. Of course, some people were like, Kelley, that's so weird. But a lot of people totally agree with me. It feels encouraging to know that you're not the only one who feels a certain way. However, you will never get that feeling if you don't share your thoughts. When I go back home, I'm not only going to tell people to stand up for themselves, but I'm going to show them. I'm going to lead by example and be assertive with what I want, like I learned to do here. I'm no longer going to live in everyone else's world, complying to their needs before my own. Hopefully then, others will see how empowering and important it is. But in the end, I just want people to know that if they open up and become vulnerable with others to make connections, it'll be easier to stand up for their own needs and beliefs. If you don't stand up for yourself, no one else will. Stop living in everyone else's world. Stick up for yourself, because you are the most important person to make happy.